Howdy guys, welcome back to another It's Tadpole MMA UFC fight card prediction. This week we've got Strickland versus Uriah Hall. But before we hit that, the predictions, let's quickly recap last week. Last week we got a silver verdict badge. We went 3 wins, 2 losses. We hit 2 underdogs, we lost 1 underdog selection. As for the betting, we went 2 of 5 on our singles, lost the multi, ended up 1.2 units on the night. So we had a green event. We had our formula single play cash in Macy Barber at $2.20. We were absolutely kissed on that one. She definitely lost that fight, but we lose enough when the judges' scorecards don't go our way, so you've got to take those ones when we can. Our other winning single was TJ Dillashaw to win in round 4, 5 or decision at $5, which was a great price. I do think he won the fight. Lots of people think Sandhagen edged it. I might have just had my TJ goggles on. He did have a lot of damage. But yeah, I did have him winning. And that was my best call of the night. TJ Dillashaw via decision at 7.03 times. It was close, but I broke that fight down really well. I essentially said that it came down to whether TJ could weather that, the damage and that versatility that Corey brings to the cage. And he did. And managed to keep coming forwards, utilise that wrestling, and put on a really impressive performance. And it was good to see that the conditioning post-EPO held up with him, so it was a good win. My worst call of the night was Derek Minner. That bastard. I thought the Charles Rosa fight was his turning point and he was no longer going to be that round 1 submission guy or bust. But he turned out to be just that again. He couldn't get Elkins out of there. And then he just got the cardio dump that we saw and was an absolute passenger in there that second round. And Darren Elkins is going to swarm on that. That is his bread and butter. So incredibly disappointing. Let's get to this week though. It's a really average card. I know cards like this can tend to show out and then we get some great fights, but I don't know. I don't know if I see that necessarily happening. The main event is good. So anyway, let's hit it. I won't be long. First fight on the verdict slate is Nicholas Stolze versus Jared Gooden. Stolze is 1.54 times and $1.45. Jared Gooden 2.84 times and $2.63. This is Jared Gooden's a late minute replacement here. Stolze was meant to be fighting Munir Lazzez, which he was a sizable underdog in. Now quite a large favourite or a moderate favourite. And, I've got him to win this fight. I think Jared Gooden absorbs way too many strikes in his fights. His striking defense isn't necessarily bad, but he just puts himself in bad positions. And then offensively, he is quite one-dimensional in terms of only targeting the head. He doesn't mix it up very well. I think Stolze moves a little better. I think he's more versatile in his approach. I think he's going to chop the legs of Jared Gooden and just kind of edge it out that way. I think this fight could stay on the feet the entire time. Jared Gooden's got some pretty solid takedown defense. And I know Stolze got taken down 4 times in his first UFC fight against Ramazan Emeev. But Emeev's an incredibly good, strong grappler. I feel like both these guys do have kind of solid wrestling pedigree, have some submission wins. Yeah, I think we see a striking fight, maybe a high volume affair, which could be a little bit exciting, but I'm taking Stolze via a decision. Let me get the price on that, on verdict there. That has evaded me. 2.24 times, 150 XP on that. Not a great price, but I do see this one hitting the cards. Both of these guys have had about 9 fights go to the decision, so I like it. Anyway. Next fight along, Bryan Barberena versus Jason Witt. Barberena 1.27 times and $1.35. Jason Witt 4.70 times and $3.05. This is a gross fight. I do not like the price, but I am on Bryan Barberena here. I have absolutely no faith in Jason Witt. He has got no chin. He's got pretty disgusting movement on the feet. Does not shift his head at all. I think Barberena is going to have an absolute field day with the striking, which is saying something because Barberena is not the quickest nor most versatile striker, but he is an mongrel. He's a mongrel. He has pressure for days. He's got volume and conditioning that puts him in good stead to win most fights and especially wars. I would have once said that he also has fucking incredible durability and an absolute iron chin, but I do have to hold my tongue on that statement these days, as he has lost 2 of his last 3 fights via knockout. But you look at those fights, so against Randy Brown and against Vicente Luque, both third-round finishes, so he weathered a fair bit of damage prior to getting finished. And, that Vicente Luque fight was seriously something, man. They stood toe-to-toe for the full 15 minutes, knocked each other down, damage on both sides, over 300 combined significant strikes. And, if Gastelum and Izzy didn't do what they did that year, that was a serious contender for Fight of the Year. So if you have the spare time, go back and watch that. Do yourself a favour. Because, if Barboza can go with a guy like Vicente in the manner that he did, I have total faith that he can dispose of Jason Witt. Jason Witt, he does have an okay submission game, and you look at the stats, Brian did let up 5 takedowns in his last fight, but he's a wily old fighter. He doesn't get controlled too frequently. He's only been submitted once. So I'm on Brian Barboza via second round knockout at 2.62 times. I don't feel necessarily that Brian has that KO in the one shot. So the second round play is a lean on him accumulating some damage and kind of drowning Witt. And, I honestly reckon he might have landed near on 100 strikes by the time he finishes this one up in the middle frame. Witt is a fucking punching bag. Let's go. Next fight along, Kyung Ho Kang versus Rani Yaya. Kang 1.69 times and $1.72. Rani 2.44 times and $2.10. This is a tricky fight to predict. This is Kyung Ho Kang's first fight in nearly 2 years. He had a layoff for his wedding, then broke his orbital bone in sparring, and then has been struggling with a back injury through the latter stages of 2020, and finally gets this one slated up for him, the Korean fighter. Hanayaya, he has been fighting, but he's only actually fought twice since Kang's last bout, so it isn't like he's been incredibly or much more active. I do see that layoff for Kang being less of a factor in this fight than if he were to fight an opponent that had fought or had been more active. As for their skill sets, both of these guys do love to grapple. They are submission artists. It has to be said though, Hanayaya is the more decorated grappler. He's got 21 pro submissions from 27 victories, which is insane. He can get it done from pretty much anywhere. Very, very slippery, very good at setting submissions up and transitioning through positions. But Kyung Ho Kang, he's the better wrestler, and I think he is going to be the stronger guy as well. His takedowns are better, more impactful, and his takedown defense is way, way better than Yaya's. Hani, he gets taken down pretty much at will. And you look, and perhaps that is a product of him wanting to fight a grappling match anyway, but I don't feel like you're gonna want to be off your back against a guy like Kang, because he does love to move to mount, move to more dominant positions, and he's pretty good at keeping his opponents down. I also think that Kyung Ho Kang is the better striker. Neither guy is elite by any means, but I think he's marginally more active. I think he has the better movement and better defense, and I think he's also more accurate with his strikes when he decides to come forward and engage. All in all, I am going with Kyung Ho Kang here. I think he's going to get the better of the exchanges on the feet. I think Yaya is going to have a difficult time in securing takedowns, whilst Kang is going to have a much easier time in flooring this fight and then working for control from there. Of course, as soon as this gets to the ground, it's always going to be a threat that Yaya locks something up. Even from his back, he's an incredible submission grappler. But choosing that as an outcome isn't really a sensible play, considering I feel like a lot of things have to go his way in order for that to occur. I feel like, if Yaya doesn't win via submission, he loses his fight. I feel like Kang has the more options. As for my specific option though, I'm going with Kyung Ho Kang via submission in round 2 at 29.02 times. I do feel like the decision play is the safest. Yaya is such a good BJJ player. It is hard to see him getting submitted. He has only been subbed once, But Kyung Ho Kang, he fights to finish. He's only won 4 decisions in his career. And I do know that Kang loves that mount position. It's a very, very dominant spot. And I also think he has slightly better conditioning. So if he can work to a spot like that and Hani is tired, You know, we've seen by Rodolfo Vieira in that fight previous to his last, where it doesn't matter how good you are, if you're gassed and you're in a bad spot, you can get submitted. So that's that. Co-main event, Cheyenne Bays versus Gloria de Paula. What the fuck? Oh my days, co-main event. Let's go. Cheyenne Bays, 1.45 times and $1.48. Gloria de Paula, 3.22 times and $2.52. I'm not going to be long. I've got Cheyenne, and not with any real confidence. So the moderate favourite price tag is it's making me want to turn away, but I think she's the better striker. Not that she's fantastic by any means. What I do like is I like her clinch work. She is at a size disadvantage here with the height and the reach. So getting inside, getting her hands on Gloria, and, you know, driving up knees from the clinch, softening up that body, should be the game plan. Of course, in the clinch position, I am worried about her getting out-muscled. You know, Montserrat Conejo essentially ragdolled her in her last fight. And Gloria de Paula, it remains to be seen about how the strength matches up in there. But if she does the same and Cheyenne cannot keep her pinned against the cage as she did to her Contender Series opponent, then yeah, she might just fucking lose again. And de Paula, if she does target the body, you know, I feel like she could also hurt Cheyenne, soften her up, lean on that conditioning. And Gloria does have pretty good movement and defense herself, but I don't know if she's going to have that strength or the grappling to really kind of exploit Cheyenne in that department. So yeah, a pretty uneventful decision for Cheyenne Bays at 1.73 times. It's an awful price, but it's a really likely outcome. I'd rather just not talk about this fight any longer. Main event, Uriah Hall versus Sean Strickland. Uriah Hall, 1.75 times the verdict favourite, but the betting underdog, $2.66. Sean Strickland, 2.33 times and $1.44. It can't be doubted that Uriah Hall, he's a phenomenal striker. You know, he can throw everything. He has very, very pretty technique. His kicking game is superb, and he does have power in his hands, in his legs. But he has no urgency, his volume is not great, and he really does need a dance partner that's going to afford him some space, you know, let him set up his kicks and then make his reads from there. He needs time, and Strickland does not offer any one of those things. Sean, he's primarily a boxer. He doesn't hang out at kicking range, and, you know, his volume is through the roof. And with that, I honestly think that his striking defense is better than Uriah Hall's as well. And Sean, his game plan is to go out there and drown guys and break them. And I think he has every chance in the world to do exactly that to Uriah Hall. One thing I don't like about Sean, though, is that he generally tends to headhunt. You know, he doesn't throw kicks too often. And when he's active with the hands, it's typically just upstairs, you know, not too much body work. However, in his last fight, he really went after Krzysztof Jotko's legs. And I do think we see him kind of go with a similar game plan here, because although Jotko is nowhere near as good a striker as Uriah Hall, they do have their similarities. You know, they're both kickboxers who like space and range, and neither of them have the highest output, you know. I think with that fight being his previous, it put Sean in great stead for this one, you know. I think he's going to go after Uriah's legs at range, which is going to stop Uriah from moving so well and you know, damaging those legs that Uriah likes to use so much offensively. And it's going to also hide Sean's entries to his boxing as well. You know, hide that first step behind a leg kick. And I think he's just going to be on Uriah the whole time, you know, unrelenting with his pressure, crowd the kicker. You know, Uriah's not going to have any space to use his lower half. I also think Sean can go to his grappling. You know, he hits takedowns at a pretty solid clip, 60%. That's very, very impressive. And he can genuinely wrestle and maintain top position. Uriah Hall, he's atrocious off his back. Shoeface controlled him for over 10 minutes of their 15-minute fight. So, yeah, I think this is Strickland's, outside of a flashy knockout. Because, yeah. But Sean's only been slept once in 26 pro fights. And that was by a ridiculous wheel kick courtesy of Elizeo Zaleski dos Santos. So, you know, flashy shit can put him out, but it's a puncher's chance for Uriah for mine. I'm on Sean Strickland via a 4th round knockout at 4.71 times. The championship round finish is a play on the way I see this fight panning out, you know, with Sean not letting up at all and Uriah just eventually wilting. I did look at other methods and the submission play is at an inviting price. You know, it's over 60 times for Sean to notch one. And he has got 4 pro subs on the resume and I can see this one hitting the canvas in his favour. But Strickland, for the most part, he loves the hands. Uriah's never been subbed or beat how bad he is from his back. And I think Strickland would love to add a knockout over Uriah Hall to the resume. Alright, that's it. Bets, single plays. Maybe I'll tell you the multi first, because the multi is a double, 2 legs, and the singles are just both of those legs. So, a very simple betting card for the Tadpole on this occasion. I do like the 2 legs that I have got here, so hence all my eggs in those baskets. But the multi, I've got Ryan Benoit, babyface by knockout, and Sean Strickland by knockout at $19.65 on Sportsbet. Like I said, singles, Benoit, knockout, $6 on Sportsbet. Strickland, knockout, $3 on Sportsbet. I don't need to talk any longer about the Sean Strickland leg or the reasons behind that bet, but I will give you guys a bit of insight on why I'm on Ryan Benoit via knockout. This fight was originally on the verdict card. It has now dropped to second from the bottom. So I had broken this one down in preparation for this video. And I did really like the Ryan Benoit knockout play. 8 of his 10 wins coming via that method. And you know, Zaruk Adeshev, he got slept bad by Tyson Nam, who was 36 years old at the time. 36-year-old flyweight, knocking you out. I don't like it. Zaruk Adeshev, he has a professional record of 3 wins, 3 losses. 2 of those wins are over opponents in Bellator who have never won in their professional career. And the other win is over a guy who is now 3-2. He is, it's low-level stuff for the UFC, man. You know, and I know Ryan Benoit, he's 10-7, but he has been in the UFC for 8 fights. I think he's had 8 fights with the promotion. And he's fought some high-level guys. You know, he lost to Brandon Moreno. Split decision. He dropped Brandon Moreno. He beat Sergio Pettis. Like, this guy has actually got some wins, and he has finished wins. You know, 80%. Coming by way of knockout. I think $6 at this spot. And he's a betting favourite. $6 for him to knock out Zaruk Adeshev? God. The bookies want to lose. So that's that. I'll have to tune in early this weekend because I want to watch that shit happen, second from the bottom. And then we'll have to wait all the way to the main event to watch the multi sail in with Sean Strickland just putting the hurt on Uriah Hall. And I cannot wait. This is not one you want to miss, guys. Actually, it probably is one card that you could afford missing, but the Tadpole is going to come out to play, I reckon. And I reckon we're going to... If this multi wins and we hit both singles, we're going to be up like fucking 30 units. So, just let's go. Let me know if you're riding in the comments, boys, girls. Cheers for tuning in. Tell me your picks. I know we're only one day out. Weigh-ins have occurred. See you all on the next one. Catch up.